Hey everyone, welcome to Soul Cafe. Happy 2021. It's 2021,
Hello.
Aaron.
2021,
Yeah.
hindsight
Ah, so the,
2020.
2020 left, and we thought,
Dum-dum.
that was the bad year. But
And then,
there's some more endurance left to do, I think. So
yeah,
anyway, but that's okay.
yeah,
So how was Christmas and New Year's? I haven't talked to you. Well, I have. I've talked to you a
yeah.
couple of times, but
It
I
was
know how it
good.
went for you. But you
Obviously, yeah. Spent it mostly recovering.
recovering.
Yeah.
So what was that like on Christmas? You're recovering. Did they gather around your bedside or
No, I came down to the Christmas tree. Yeah, I got home. I was out of the hospital by the following evening, and admittedly, the first few days are a little fuzzy because I spent most of it sleeping and a little bit out of it with the pain medication and things. So it was nice. It's as I've told everyone, it's taken me a lot longer to recover than I actually expected, but it is going well. And I expect that this week will sort of be the last final upward swing. For those of you that listened to our episode when we interviewed Rob and Lucas about this, Rob had a slightly different recovery than I
he
did.
did. He did. What does that mean? So supposedly because you've experienced childbirth and
Yeah.
C-sections and all that, you should have bounced right back, and Rob should have been the one, in
Yeah.
misery. It didn't work that way. So what do you make
Well,
of that?
it is. I thought about that and I thought, oh, remember like the whole secret story people tell you is that you forget how hard the first 6 months of having a child so that you'll remember to have another one. It's like, so I'm like, oh, maybe I actually just blocked out how hard it was afterwards. The difference that I rationalized for myself is that after a C-section, I was in the hospital for 5 days. And so like you're in that nice lovely bed that pushes you up and you've got handrails and people are coming to get you out of bed and all this kind of stuff. And this one I was out in 24 hours and like all of a sudden I'm like, how do I get what do I do with my abdominal muscles right now? How do I get out of this bed? So it was a lot of rolling around. It was not pretty. I'll just lay it there. It was not pretty watching me trying to
So
mobilize around the house.
I'm getting messages here that people are seeing. It's not my desktop that people are seeing. It's actually Cyril's desktop that people are
Oh,
seeing.
that's fun. Cyril, you better hide
It
all.
needs to be expanded. So Cyril, you need to expand that, buddy. We'll see how that goes. So anyway, it's not me. That's not my computer. For those of you, I'm good. So anyway, on our producer end, they're going to get that expanded, and you're going to see just us. I suppose we'll see how that works.
Hopefully.
But anyway, yep, yep.
Yeah.
So what
But
else is going
anyway,
on? Yeah.
otherwise, the holidays were nice. It was nice to actually. I wasn't expecting to get as much downtime, but I did. It was nice. We got a lot of TV time in. I don't watch TV, so that was kind of weird and but also wonderful. I don't know if you've seen Ted Lasso. Just such a wonderful, uplifting TV
Ted,
series.
Ted Lasso.
Yes. Oh gosh, if anyone is looking for a TV series, just that's fun. Like it just there's nothing heavy about it. It's just fun. It's
Where,
good.
where would I find this?
Apple TV. It's
Apple
Jason
TV.
Sudeikis. Yeah,
Huh.
it's a good
Okay.
show.
All right. Well,
It's
I'll take a look,
maybe
I
it's
guess.
mature, but it's not bad. But it's about soccer. It's fun. It's
Okay.
happy.
Okay.
It's like a
Soccer's
Happy
good.
Gilmore type of thing, like just
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting year, I think.
yeah.
I think it's going to be hard in some ways, and then it'll be joyful. So we'll have both, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight because we're going to talk about resilience.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you?
I mean, we'll dive deeper into it when we get our guest on, but I would say resilience to me is the ability to process events, occurrences, things that are happening to you, but be able to, you know, push through them and, recover. Not recover, but yeah, I think resilience actually part of the reason I want to talk about it is I think it's a complicated thing. I
Isn't
don't,
isn't it the capacity to contextualize a little too? Like
yeah,
I
I mean,
think
it's
we've been through
understand
quite a
it.
week. Had we decided to start again next week, which we didn't because of your surgery, I'm glad we didn't. It would have been an interesting night to be on the air. And I think people have to contextualize what's happening. I think we
Yeah.
tend to make whatever is going on sort of ultimate, like there's never been anything like this. I'm a
Everything's
historian. That's not
expected.
true.
Right. Yeah. Like,
These things will be lesser in time in our lives, and we have to be able to sort of say, okay, look, this is another challenge, and there are a lot right now of challenges, and I can deal with it, and in the future, this is going to be looked on differently. So I think the capacity to look to see something right now in the context of bigger history is part of resilience
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, when you look up the definition in the dictionary, there's like the resilience as it's relating to like a human, the capacity to recover quickly from something difficult. But then when you look at resilience as it's talking about like an inanimate object, it's pliability, it's flexibility,
Yeah.
which to me, I think is where the conundrum is of where do you want to see resilience between those two
No,
definitions?
no
Because that
question.
to me,
My big thing right now is adaptability. It's the
yeah,
capacity to accept what's going on right now and adapt. And this is you can't change it. So I think letting go of what you can't control, as I said Sunday,
hmm
and then saying, how do I adapt to this moment and move through it? I think is huge. And I think just to lower the pressure a little and just to go, okay, look, we're going to be okay. Ultimately,
yeah,
is a big deal.
yeah.
All right. Well, Aaron's back. You're back, of
Yay.
course. Aaron is back. We're so glad.
Aaron's back
I'm
too.
glad you're doing well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Looking good. And then Aaron is back too. And I'm gonna need Aaron. So I'm doing this series, Aaron, on Ecclesiastes. This is a
Yeah.
big gamble because Ecclesiastes is like the most depressing book in the whole Bible, if you read it that way. I mean, it is. It just sort of says, this is bad, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. But then there's this. But I find that sort of naming the stuff for what it is and just okay, I can't do anything about that, and then finding meaning in the midst is where it is. So anyway, I'm going to call it Winter Blues, and we're gonna actually study the blues. Do you like the blues?
I do
I
a
do
lot
too.
actually.
I do too. And the history of the blues is remarkable. Sort of
Yeah.
rooted in slavery, rooted in oppression, and
Yeah.
it's all of rock and roll owes its
That's
being to the blues. And so we're going to study the blues and sort of play some blues and sing some blues and look at Ecclesiastes. And that's where we're going this coming Sunday and beyond. And it'll be fun. But let's talk about resilience so we'll be ready for it. This is a good prep
yeah.
for
I
the
think so
reading
too.
of Ecclesiastes. But before that, the ultimate singer of sad songs. It's not true. I just play with him to say
I
that.
mean, isn't it kind of true? But
It's a
it's
little true,
a
but
little true.
he's good at it. He does sad bad, and bad in a good way, I mean.
Bad,
Hey,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Bad with a BH.
So,
are you
Aaron,
guys talking mean about me right now?
no, we were talking
Saying
good
you're the
about you.
best sad song
Dude,
singer
we
ever.
love you.
I know, and I didn't want to disappoint tonight, so I brought another sad song with me. So that
Wouldn't take it any other way,
I
Aaron.
think it fits. I think it fits the motif.
I do.
So yeah, so another sad song. What's this one?
Well, this one is I'm sure many people have heard of it. It's called Tennessee Waltz.
Oh, is that a sad song?
It is with
I did,
a sort of
I
a
did not
happy.
know. So this is I was walking with my baby.
I was dancing with my darling to the Tennessee
Tennessee
Waltz.
Walk, right? So I didn't know that was sad.
Well, if you listen to the words, it is. It's about
Okay.
a guy who lost his darling.
That's
Man.
priceless. Well, Jim, if you listen to the actual
Wow. I guess I
No.
haven't. I mean, I can't honestly tell you, Aaron, that I listen to Tennessee Waltz
couldn't
every
tell you
day.
either.
So
Yeah. I actually don't know if I even know the song. I'll have to wait to hear it.
I probably heard it on a jukebox. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Apparently, interestingly, Leonard Cohen used to play this song at almost all his concerts, and it's kind of like a country, and it was a sort of adopted by the bluegrass community, but it was like hardcore country song from back in the 50s maybe. But Leonard Cohen picked it up and he started playing it, and he even added a verse. So he made this really weird kind of existential verse that's added in before the last verse of this one. So,
and are you adding that one in?
I am not.
Well, okay. Well, you tell us that, and then we don't hear the verse.
You have to look it up.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to find out this song is sad.
Yep. Should I play it?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Oh, and I also got a new microphone, which is what this is right here.
You sound good. You
Yeah.
do. You look good too. Everything's good.
We'll see. All right. Tennessee Waltz. my darling to the Tennessee Waltz when an old friend I happened to see. I introduced him to my darling, and while they were dancing, my friend stole my sweetheart from me. I remember the night and the Tennessee Waltz, 'cause I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing that beautiful Tennessee Waltz. Now I wonder how a dance like the Tennessee Waltz could have broken my heart so complete. Well, I couldn't blame my darling, and who could help falling in love with my darling so sweet? I remember the night and the Tennessee Waltz, 'cause I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing that beautiful Tennessee Waltz. Well, it must have been the fault of the Tennessee Waltz. Wish I'd known just how much it would cost. But I didn't see it coming. It's all over, but the crying, blame it all on that Tennessee Waltz. I remember the night and the Tennessee Waltz, 'cause I know just how much I have lost. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing that beautiful Tennessee Waltz. Yes, I lost my little darling the night they were playing that beautiful Tennessee Waltz.
Man, you're right. That is sad.
Yeah,
I never
that's
knew. I never knew.
It's
Wow.
got some blues in it.
I mean, it's the whole country thing. You back up the pickup truck and you
That's right.
whatever.
That's
All
right.
that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all sad. It's all
Well, there's no pickup truck, but
all
the
born in
guy's girl
pain.
left him, so
This has been a week for pain.
Yeah.
I think. And really,
I'm with you.
I think what people are missing is when you see people who are on radically different sides and you're watching what's happening, there's just so much pain and disenfranchisement and feeling of of being discounted. And it's all showing up in so many different ways. We're just seeing the results of so much, in our culture, of so many people who feel totally left behind. It's sad.
I'm with you. I know you probably don't want to go in this direction with the podcast, but I've been thinking and like just thinking a lot about the events of last week and the images of the of the cross being on a flag flown through the Capitol while it's
Right.
being
Jesus saves. It was all there.
saves, this just total confusion of Christian symbols with completely non-Christian behavior.
Totally
Um,
right. Totally
um,
right. I
yeah,
think we talk. I think Aaron and I talked today about doing a show.
yeah,
We're trying to leave a little space and get to that. I mean, I think the whole thing about we can sort of be angry at people, Christian nationalism, at whatever, but what's needed right now is a lot of empathy. I mean, there are a lot of people
yeah.
in pain, and they're looking for places to park that,
Yep,
and not finding good places. Uh,
I'm with you.
yeah. So I think that a lot of people on a lot of different sides, and I'm not saying these are equivocal, but a lot of people are going to have to learn to feel the pain of other people, or we won't get anywhere here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
I also think that this is a problem for churches. Like
yeah,
it
I do too.
is the body of Christ that's got a sickness here that needs to we need to deal with it, and a major tool in doing that is going to have to be listening and empathy and but also speaking truth.
True.
And I
Yeah,
think
no.
there's probably not enough of all of that.
And it's hard to do both at the same time. I struggled last week with how to respond because I've struggled this whole year, honestly. But I'll just confess to you that I really struggled with how to respond appropriately in such a way that would make a difference and not create more strife
Mhm.
Yep.
and pain, and not be politically motivated or oriented. But I think what's going on here is we're seeing just massive outpourings of pain in our culture, inappropriately focused, I'll grant you, but it's there. And until people can feel each other's pain and have some commonality in that, we're not going to get anywhere. And so that makes ironically, it makes the Christian faith a real solution. And yet, even within Christianity, we disagree about how to respond to this, right?
Mhm.
Whether to demonize or to empathize.
Yep.
I lean toward empathize. I just do.
Yeah, I've heard some great people say the way to do it is to just love people, listen, and but definitely you need to address like to whatever extent any church has elements of Christian nationalism in
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
You have to be able to talk about that, address it, identify the elements of it that are not Christian. Like
Right. And I agree. But we've been consistent at Columbia in calling that out. But I wouldn't say we've been effective. I mean, I can't figure out how to do it in such a way that people can actually hear it. So it's a frustrating moment. You don't want to be a pastor right now. Trust me.
oh, I'm not at all. But I'm grateful that you are.
I still want to be a pastor. Still love doing it, and still love the people that I deal with of all sorts of stripes. But at the end of the day, man, just the pain that I'm seeing is just, if people will get beyond their anger and look at the pain, it is intense. It's just so intense, and it's coming out on all sides. Everybody blames somebody different, and the thing is, pain looks for a place to locate itself. Anger looks for a place to locate itself. And so you find a target and you make that the target, but it's usually not the right target.
Sure.
So anyway, there we go with our philosophical portion.
Yes.
That was fun. But you and Aaron and I have Aaron, Aaron, and I have texted back and forth quite a bit with this week on some of this. And there's some fascinating stuff to read out there right now. For sure.
I highly recommend
David Fred.
David French is great, but Christianity Today has been amazing on this.
Really has.
Their quick to listen podcast is so good, and the most recent one was excellent.
It was fantastic. I agree.
Yeah, so highly recommend that.
All right, man. Love you.
Love you too. Good to see you all. Good to see you, Aaron.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Next week, we're gonna see you next week.
Yeah.
All right. I want Lead Belly.
Oh man. Okay. I'll try.
I want people to see what real blues is. You know, the old stuff. Can you do that?
I'll try.
All right.
Dig deep.
All right, man. Take care.
Take care. See you.
Yeah.
All right, so Aaron, we have so many former Colombians in so many places across the country and world, and this is one of them. And you've kept in touch with her, which is magnificent. And she has a lot to say to us about resilience.
Yep, Sarah and I have actually. I'll now reveal age, but we've known each other for 20. Sarah is at 20. Well, she's not on here yet, but 25 years, 26 years. Right out of college. She actually went to college with a bunch of my good friends. So we've known each other for quite some time.
She had a horrified look on her face at that time.
You're on mute, Aaron, Sarah, just to let you know. And so, so Sarah and I go way back. We're good friends. She's also very good friends with another dear friend of ours at Columbia, Jen Landers. And Sarah lived here up until just a few years ago and moved down to Charleston. She and I have kept in touch.
And she still misses Columbia.
She still misses Columbia.
Right, Sarah?
You're on mute.
I can ask you to unmute anyway.
Yep. So we have a lot of if anyone knows Marco, the app Marco, she and I are kings at it. We trade our Marcos quite frequently, but we frequently can get into about a 3-hour discussion on pretty much anything. And one of the big things that we talk a lot about is resilience. It's something that she focuses on. She's done organizational development and a lot of consulting in the professional world, but also has a deep heart for just human side of issues. And that's what she and I love to pontificate about. And this is a specific area that she wants to really dive deep into and start a podcast on. I'm putting her on the spot. I'm being her accountability partner and making
she's working on it.
Working on it. So I told her, I said, well, you can work on it on the show. I'm going to just bring you on and we're going to talk about resilience. So here she is tonight, coming to maybe just for us to like make public what our discussions sound like when she and I get going on a topic. But resilience is a specific topic that we talk a lot about. And when she was mentioning it the other day and just thinking about the new year and the sermon from last week and just everything that's going on, it felt like just an appropriate topic to bring up.
And this is going to fit the next sermon series really well. Yeah. So she's going to set the stage for me. So Sarah, take it away. You're going to.
She's like, wait, what?
You have to preach a little. You got to preach.
I can actually do that, Jim.
I know. I'm ready. I'm waiting for the sermon.
Yeah. Well, I think that resilience, as it's certainly top of mind, and I think for everybody these days, whether we realize it and we use the word resilience or not, it's a big part of what we're all experiencing, and that need to bounce back. But for me and my own personal journey, since moving to Charleston in 2016, I had an unfortunate cancer diagnosis that I am still in the middle of battling each and every day. And I feel great. Like I don't think I'm going to kick the bucket anytime soon, but I've spent a lot of time since my diagnosis thinking about resilience. I'm a product of the Marine Corps. I grew up as a military brat. I moved around a lot. And I think that certainly set me up both physically and mentally to kind of have some of the key, characteristics of resilience already embedded. But certainly when you're dealing with a life-threatening disease, something I learned really fast was, you either, and doctors recognize this, you either make the mental shift to surviving, taking control, making decisions about how things are going to play out in the context of what you can control, and that is how in fighting a disease you develop resilience. And
Yeah.
there's an awesome Japanese quote, and it says, "Fall down 7 times, stand up 8." And I have it hanging in my office, and it's just a constant reminder to me that, no matter what it is, whether it's a disease or what's happening in today, I mean, we are going to get knocked down. You have to decide whether you're going to
Right.
stand back up, and that's
Yeah.
that's that's for you to decide.
That's life. I mean, I talked about this Sunday. Apparently, you heard, and you guys talked about it. So, it's letting go of what you cannot control, and controlling what you can control. So I think that what happens is people, when they lose control of some things, they think they have control of nothing. That's never true. So you always have control of your response. You always do, every single time. And then other people think they have control of everything. I think we see evidence of that in our culture, and they really don't. So you can help us define resilience, but to me, a big key to this is sort of figuring out these are the things I can't control, and I let them go, and I release them. And then these are the things that I do have control over, that God has given me the capacity to take care of, and these things are the things I will focus on. um, that that's not a good definition. So, what's your definition of resilience?
I mean, Aaron and I have had this conversation. I mean, I definitely mentally, I kind of gravitate to a little bit of like the scientific world about,
Yeah.
kind of the state of something and
Mhm.
its ability to, to be forced into another state, but then bounce back into its original state.
Mhm.
That, kind of metaphorically just helps me mentally. But, I think that sometimes resilience might mean different things for different people because it's really centered around what your personal strengths are, and they're different for all of us. So, I go to I pull towards my strengths and I use those to help me get through times when I'm low, when I'm not strong, when I'm
Mhm.
having a difficult time, and I know I've got to get out of this and get back to my natural state of being, or a different state of being. And so that's, to me, that's everything from, my resilience, my personal resilience. Um, relies really heavily on my social networks, on people in my life who help me kind of focus and remind me of who I am and what I'm capable of. A lot of that has to do with, from a control perspective, reminding myself of what I'm good at and what I can control. um, and I think it just the level of control and what you're controlling depends on the circumstance and the
Mhm.
situation, right?
Mhm.
For me, I mean, it's as crazy as it might sound. I have gotten I've gotten really smart on my disease and globally what is happening to fight it.
Mhm.
And so I walk into my doctor's office and we have conversations about, what we're going to do today and what we're going to do 6 months from now, and what the various treatments options are, and what about this trial that we know that's taking place over, in London. And sometimes she's like, can I just be the doctor here? But that's where that's where my control and my comfort is, and that gives me strength.
I
Mhm.
really like how you talked about the fact that it's varying for everyone, and I think you're right. You pull to your strengths, and that's one of your. I don't actually want to call it coping mechanism, because I don't think it's a coping mechanism so much as it's a systematic way in which your brain can handle whatever stress is coming your way. And it's because I would say that, like, when I'm going, if I look back, right, because I don't often feel resilient in the moment until someone, well, when anyone says you're so strong, I normally go, oh, I think they mean that I'm resilient. And you and I have discussed, I hate it when people say that, because there's a whole other thing we can go on about that particular statement, especially to women. But I pull to my ability to compartmentalize, and my ability to be completely comfortable with emotionality. And so I can, for me, what I guess strength looks like to other people, or what resilience looks like to other people, is my ability to go, well, I just put that little thing right here, and then I took this little thing and I tied it, and I put it here, and then I put this one over here, and like I'll go reach into those buckets when I need to address them, and I'll have a good cry, and then I'm laughing hysterically 5 minutes later, and like I don't mind those streams of emotional, where I do know that that might not be someone else's strength. That if they break down, they need 2 days to figure out how to come back out of crying for 3 hours, and I'm like, nope, nope, I'm good. Let's go do. And so I sort of pull to those things, and I do think that people naturally, without even knowing, and until you sort of had said that, could probably identify where they go to pull in that resiliency when they need it, because I do think it's very personal for sure.
Well, conversely too, I think it's also really understanding where your fault lines
Yeah.
exist. What are the things that are, if you step on them, that are going to pull you under, and then how do you build in mechanisms to either avoid those things, which ps avoidance is a short-term solution.
Right.
Yeah.
But how do you build in mechanisms, whether they're things that you intuitively have that you didn't recognize, or they're things that you've got to learn
Yeah.
behaviorally.
Well, and I like the short term nature of that, because to your point, this, fall 7 times, get back 8. I do think that the component to resilience, or a component to resilience, because we were talking about this before we came online, like the definition as it relates to people is related to toughness, but the definition as it's related to inanimate objects is flexibility and pliability. And I do think, I would say that the flexibility pliability piece of resilience comes in the sense that people can recognize they can go down their fault line and come back up. Like people who say I need to stay in a constant state of strength or something, like that's not resilience. That's hardness. That's toughening of heart. That's hardening of heart. That's not allowing God's will, if you will, come into the situation. It's more about, I'm okay to fall off the edge for however long it needs, so that I can come back up, to your point, to your natural state. And that's, I think that's probably why I always go against the terminology, you're so strong. It's like, well, I don't want to be, if strong is what you think I am, that's not what I want to be. That means brittle surface, that means nothing porous, that means no experimenting. And I'm not sure that that's the right definition I would want people to put on. And strong is scary to a lot of people, because then of course the opposite of strong is weak. So if you're not able to do it, then does that mean you're just a weak person that can't be pliable and resilient? And I think that's something in our culture we probably need to tighten language up around. But yeah.
I think it's interesting too. The my doctor said to me very early on that she can see, people who are going to survive, and it's all because of their mental
Yeah.
attitude. She said it's often not about the medicine. It's often not about how they physically respond. It is their,
Yeah.
kind of how they. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like you go through all kinds of, ups and downs and processes and fears, and that doesn't go away. But it's, do you continue to go at it? Do you not let it get the best of you? Do
Well,
you?
it's really, can you adapt, right? I mean, so life is going to throw a lot at you, and if God grant you, you should live a long
Adaptability.
time. Yeah, adaptability is the deal. To me, it is. I mean, what helps me, and this may sound simple, and maybe I'm not even right, but I get hit a lot, and then I'll just sort of say, okay. At first, my response is sort of despair, and then I'll go, okay, what am I going to do with this? And my response is usually to say, okay, let's name what really is going on here. This is not good, or not, or something I don't like, and then what am I going to do with that, and how am I going to adapt to it? So, sort of the present moment's a good example. This has been a blow. I mean, to a lot of people, but to churches, I think we're going to find ourselves significantly hit by this. And if you're a pastor, you've spent all these years building momentum, and you talk about Columbia, we're building a building, and you got all this going on, and then all of a sudden, bam, there it is. And you're watching all these people that you really love move to other places or die. I'm facing the death of somebody I really love right now in our congregation. I'm very close to, and you sort of just you have these. I have these moments, at least, where I just go, you know what, this is just unrecoverable. I'm in the depths. So to me, resilience means, and endurance means the capacity to go, okay, this is the reality, but I have the capacity to grow out of this and to build out of this. What have I learned? And how can I build to the next level? And saying to the congregation Sunday, look, we're going to have to rebuild. That's all there is.
Yeah.
But we can do it. We've done it before, and we can do it again, and it will be fun. It will be exciting. There will be new things in it. You sort of have to get to the place where I can't control this stuff. For me, at least, I can't do anything about this. There's nothing I can do to change that. So, how do I grow out of this?
I think
Essentially.
something you talked about before we got on air, but you were talking about uh, the ability to have perspective in some way. And Sarah, when you were saying you grew up, military, and I've spoken about how I was raised in the Jewish faith, and Jim, you actually preached on the Dayenu at one point, but it is interesting, like growing up in the Jewish faith, like kind of, especially Passover and all these holidays or Hanukkah, it's all about endurance. It's all about, and the Dayenu specifically is something you say. It's nearly 24 stanza prayer that you say during
Yeah.
Seder, and
Yeah.
it would have been enough. It would have been enough. And so it's like each step you're saying to yourself, like, if that's all God had done for me, it would have been enough. And you're constantly sort of learning how to pull back out to 10,000 feet and say, what was the perspective I needed to have on what just
Well,
happened?
let's just say this. It's
Enough.
not in religious
Right.
ceremony, and it's not in history unless there was a challenge,
Yeah.
unless
Right.
it's not there. So there is nothing in history that says that year went really well and
Yeah.
everything was. That doesn't happen. There's
Right.
a challenge involved. There's problem solving involved. And more and more I've discovered that problem solving is the meaning of life. It's where we find substance. And if there's not a problem to solve, then there's no adventure. There's no reality. So, anyway, I do think you're right, Aaron, that if you look at Jewish history, Christian history, the cross, the empty tomb, the whole thing, if there's not a challenge, there's not a rebirth. There's nothing that is there to solve. There's no problem to be worked through. So I think that's endurance and that's resilience in some
Yeah.
way. I don't know.
Well, we did have a poll. You want to put the poll up because we can
Yeah, I'll
let
put
people,
it up.
just because I think this is because we're bouncing around between all the different ways of looking at resilience, I think, which is appropriate, because I really do think we'd all agree that resilience is all in
Resilience is when your
everything.
co-host gives you a poll that he wants up like 20 minutes before we're supposed to be on air. But here it is.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, okay. Well,
So,
I
yeah.
love you. So
But
here we go. So which of the following do you think Psychology Today names as the way to cultivate resilience? So I think this is live. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's live. Yeah.
it's not, well, okay.
So
I think it's kind of interesting to go through them because if we've talked, so Sarah, for instance, you mentioned like stay connected with sources of support. That's where you gravitate towards, is to go to your, setting. Um, the attitude of survivorship, how your doctor was saying that's seek meaning. If we think about Viktor Frankl and how he wrote about what he wrote about after the Holocaust, like all of those different things, it's a trick question, but if someone were to look at that list of 7 things, they can somewhat feel a little bit disconnected, or like a lot to do, a lot to have to gravitate towards. But I do think that it's, I mean, even if we were to think about the teachings that we learn in the church, be helpful to others, like gratitude always begets, or giving always begets gratitude, right? Like the act of doing something else for someone else can make us in the moment grateful for something, which contributes to our ability to see what our circumstances are and how they can be different or better or worse. And so I do think that that's kind of an interesting way for us to bottle up resilience, is like this, how do people find the tools to build resilience in their own life? Because I don't know that most people, or at least I don't know that everyone would say that they feel resilient. Would you? I mean, I feel like I know a lot of people in this last year have felt distraught, despair, not necessarily sure how they're going to make it out of this or where they're going to go. And yet, when we're talking about 2020, we were just doing this in RIG on Sunday, but or 2 Sundays ago, it is kind of interesting. Lucas McCann, we heard from Rob and Lucas and talking about, in all, like at the end of the day, his life was saved this year by a kidney transplant. We interviewed them on this show. So like, while it was a horrible year, it was also the best year in the world for the McCann family, right? Because he got a kidney, a life-saving kidney. And so it's moments like that where you have to be, and I spoke to my IG on Sunday about just even the incredible emotional ride I went on after I donated in December. And just in like that moment of going, oh my gosh, that God would use me this way. Like, that just to have that realization that, that it in its of itself, a self-actualization, if you will, or a realization of your meaning, that you've produced meaning or that you've done something. I just don't know that we all cultivate really good ways to see that in our life. And I think, Sarah, you do a particularly good job of that, not only in your own life, but I think you're really good in seeing it in other people. And to your point, I think you said one of the points is to hear from people who really believe in you, so that you can sort of get that feedback and reminder. But I also think that that's
So, Sarah, tell us, what does a resilient person look like?
yeah.
So, you deal with people all the time, and this is your thing. So, when the most resilient people you see, what defines them? What are their qualities? What do they do that makes a difference?
Oof. Um, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think there is like a je ne sais quoi, there with people.
That's a little too mysterious. You got to get a little more concrete. You got to tell me,
I
okay, so how do people do this? So, you got to understand how many people I deal with who are they really do want to be resilient, but they're stuck.
Or
well,
put it another way, who would you have on your podcast and why? Who are like the top three people you want to interview about it, and why do you see them as examples of resilience? Maybe that would
yeah.
be.
I think that I apologize. There's dogs barking. I think that you know, there are people who might want to, or try to, or believe that they can um, hide the times when they have fallen down. Um, and I don't believe that those people are not resilient, but I think that the people who, you know, um, they don't carry a sign around that says, oh, I've fallen in the muck, but I've gotten back up. I mean, but that are willing to engage around their own troubled times,
Hmm.
as opposed to trying to paint a picture for themselves and others that things have always been, just kind of this calm, steady state. So I think there's a forthrightness that comes with resilience, because I think that there's a lot of things that you have to come to terms with.
So,
You know,
is a level of transparency? It's sort of making giving people access to your pain.
yeah.
And I do think this is something I value in Colombia, and I will tell you, people who leave Colombia or move elsewhere or whatever, this is the thing they write me about, that they wind up in a place where it's a little more surface, and they took it for granted. This is something I value in Colombians, and maybe not all, but the ones who set the pace, that there is a sort of a transparency about life. This is what I'm dealing with, and I'm just raw with it, just sort of out there, and I'll let people have access to it, even if I'm wrong. I'll let them have access to that, and to deal with it.
Yeah. But I also think that there is a level of confidence in resilient people,
Yeah.
which kind of goes hand in hand with transparency. I mean, they are who they are. They own it. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs, and you know, and I mean, I work with people because I love the human condition, but there sometimes people just don't see in themselves what other people see,
Yeah.
and they need that work to be, to kind of get to that place, and to cull it out, and to, kind of noodle through it, but really developing that confidence in your own strengths and abilities. I mean, I think that resilient, people have that. I mean, and again, like, I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I also think that it
No, no, I
depends
hear
on
you.
the individual.
This is the Stockdale paradox. That's what this is, which is acknowledge what really is,
Yeah.
and yet have an ultimate hope that I can prevail in this situation.
Yeah.
I think resilience can also happen in micro movements that, if you're someone who doesn't think you're resilient, often it might mean that you feel like you haven't had something horrible happen to you. And therefore, how could you define yourself as resilient? Because you haven't had to pop back from some tragic death, some loss, some, job, whatever it is. And I think that that might be the disservice a lot of people do for themselves, and may in fact, be the barrier that when they do go through something really tough, they haven't had those micro moments of resilience to build upon and remind, and to just build that confidence that they would get through it. Because a lot of people, I do remember, like when I first lost my parents, and I was telling someone, I was like, oh, but like there's stories of people in Africa, villages that are being raped and murdered in front of their children, and they're like,
Doesn't
whoa, you
change your
have to,
pain.
they're like,
No,
you have to
no.
go there to justify your pain.
Right. Doesn't change your pain.
Right. And it was like that moment of going, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I can acknowledge it and move on. But I do think that people, when you don't take the day-to-day resilience, and I mean, I certainly think, of course, this last year has been, anyone, for instance, if people are in this situation, they're going, well, I haven't been affected by COVID, in my family, we've done okay, or we've kept our job or anything like that. Like, don't sell yourself short. It's still been insane. It's a crazy time with a lot of crazy things happening, and to miss the opportunity to see where you were actually resilient in a situation that everybody faced, whether your family was impacted economically or through loss, it doesn't take away that this year was insane for everybody and
So,
different.
Sarah, is one of the keys to find ways in the small things to form resilience that will see you through? If you live, I will tell you as a pastor, you live long enough, you're going to see a lot of pain. You're going to. So, is one of the keys to be able to use everyday's small challenges to build resilience that can see you through the big things?
I mean, I certainly think it can be, but to your statement, I mean, I think that they're just, getting comfortable with uncomfortable things in life.
Yeah.
Um, w- we're all going to die. We're not here forever. We're going to lose our parents.
Yeah.
We're going to lose people that we love. I mean, bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can't, you can't avoid that. And so you have to, like, I think, I have learned that I have had to stop fighting this prevention mode, this mode that, I was in different parts of my life that said, if I ignore it, it will go away and it won't affect me.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
Conservation.
Yep. Preservation,
Yeah.
whatever. But you can't equivocate resilience. I mean, I think it's different for everybody, but I have definitely been thinking a lot about our kids. I mean, I think that my son coming out of this, like, this pandemic, and what children have, the changes like that they have had to kind of meander through, whether they realize it or not. I mean, I think it's going to be a huge generational um
Yeah.
impact. I mean, I think that these kids are going to be really resilient.
Okay, I think it's going to be a generational plus. I've preached this and I got killed for it. I'm just going to tell you I got killed for it. So I said in a sermon, look, if we look back at the great people in history, they did not have the benefit of the kind of formal education we have. They were self-taught. You talk about an Abraham Lincoln, probably the greatest president. Historically, I think most historians would say the greatest president that ever lived. Just faced with so many challenges. I totally agree with you. I think we talk about the greatest generation. They walked through the Depression and the World War, and they come out with this resilience. And I really believe that children who walk through this, they're not the lost generation that everybody's talking about. I think that they will learn to be self-teachers. And I really believe we may find that this generation will be one of our strongest. But I got killed when I said that in a sermon. Absolutely killed. I got responses from a number of parents who said, this is because your kids are grown, which I will grant you they are. And I'm glad I don't have to deal with this right now. But I believe they'll be stronger. And
Yeah,
you do
I think it
too.
will just depend. But I do think that there is some responsibility on us to figure out
How it works
how
and not
yeah.
to leave people behind. I'm
I
with
think
you.
I think it,
I'm
it
with you.
it could very well be that half the generation sorts itself out and half the generation goes to pot, just
Could
because I do think that there is a way in which
but
we can teach
I
them.
just wonder if our society poses enough challenges
Yeah.
and
But
and
no, that's what I'm
now it
saying.
is.
Yeah, it's like
By the way,
it's
people
all
are responding, so I want to make sure we
okay.
acknowledge these because I got it up there. So they're all over the board, Aaron.
All
With
right.
your
No one
this
says
is your
be helpful
question.
to
Well, I
others.
guess it's Psychology Today's question, but your question. So nobody said be helpful to others. That's good for a church, right?
Yeah.
And nobody said
Don't do what Jesus would do.
right, and
Is there a
nobody
phrase that
said
we wear for that?
so we've been getting a lot of responses, and nobody said cultivate an attitude of survivorship, but the help others, that worries me a little bit. But anyway, so A, B, C, E, and G got a lot of answers. Cultivate belief in your ability to
That's too
cope,
funny.
stay connected with sources of support, talk about what you're going through, activate positive emotion, and seek meaning. So, Aaron, you're the one that gave me this question. So, what's the right answer?
Trick question. These are the 7 principles of how to cultivate resilience. So those of you who said no to D and F, get on it because you need these are all the
But see,
principles
you
of
did
resilience.
not give an H. All of the above.
Because
It's
if
all
I
of the
would have,
above.
everyone would have said, well, I think it's got to be all of the
It's
above.
it's all of the above.
Yeah.
But,
And we needed to see how many people didn't say be helpful to others. What else would we have talked about
well,
if we
but I'm telling you, the people in our church who like they get involved in the food pantry or something and they help others. I'm telling you from experience, they have a more positive sense of who
oh
they are
yeah,
right now. They
100%.
do. Yeah.
Awareness.
All right. So, well, let me make sure I don't skip your next one because
Oh.
we could get taught. Wait, now people are filling in their answers.
Wait a
They're
minute, I'm just
changing
kidding.
their
I'm
answers.
kidding.
You can't change your answers now. It's too late. It's
You're
too
gonna be
late.
Found out.
You'll just have to be resilient. It's too late. Okay, so this was one. Let's make sure we get it up there since you asked me to put it up. So,
Goodness gracious.
who in the
I don't get
Bible
it.
do you think
Resilient.
represents resilience the best? And I guess best gets dropped to another line. It's important. So I chose all three, and you didn't let me do it. So Joseph, Moses, or Job. So who's the one? It took a while for people to get back in
Whoa.
the habit, Aaron.
Okay. Everyone says Job.
Well, that's one
Well,
person
that's
so
one.
far.
Yeah.
That's one person so far. We're gonna have to let that one bake a while.
Let it mellow out there. I know I should have put there's a few other people I should have put in there, but those were the 3 that came to mind. In the in if you use the Googlers, it will just bring up Joseph and Moses. I actually threw Job in there because I think it's an interesting way of,
Well,
you know,
it's getting some answers, but now that you said that, it went down. It did. Right as you said that. People are Googling now.
Googling
So
it. Well, because it's I mean, we talked about this, and this goes to the endurance part of resilience. But for Job, in all fairness, almost everything he went through, I mean, it was God's will, and it was how it happened, and that was pure patience and endurance to some extent. Now, the fact that he was able to go back, but he also restored his entire life as it was restored, right? But so it was through his belief and endurance. So I kind of think it's kind of a different type of resilience, I guess.
a lot of scholarly translations of that book I won't share with you right now, but yes. But I will say, so I preached about Philippians in November, and I don't know, Sarah, if you saw that or not. I don't know how much you. Oh, you're tuning in. It's awesome.
I
We've got all these virtual people now.
do.
So Philippians 4:13, we know from the King James, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and I hear that pointed out like it's the strength thing, Aaron. Like we can do anything, which is of course preposterous because we cannot on earth do anything. So I pointed out I cannot fly, though I tried to pretend I could at one point in Mediator series. And that's not the right translation. And so the right translation from the Greek is in all things I have endurance in the one who is empowering me. And a member of our church, Sandy, she was so moved by that she sent me for Christmas, she sent me a needlepoint of my verse, Dr. J's translation of that scripture. And so, Sarah, I think that's much more powerful. To me, it's much more powerful to say, in all things I have endurance in the one who strengthens me, the one who empowers me, than that I can do anything I want to do. And isn't that sort of a biblical definition of endurance? What do you think?
Or resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the endurance part, because I think that there is that there is a physical, aspect, to that you realize that, it's like running a race. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And um, I think endurance is critical, and knowing what you need to, and well, and then just that part of the word endure.
Hmm.
I mean, that's deep to me.
Hmm.
Don't know
Mhm.
why.
Well, and I think it's because it also goes back to the, in our culture today, between social media being something, to your point, Sarah, where you were talking about, where things are, the facade is just that everything's okay. Like they build an image around themselves, but also instant gratification is a challenge. And so if you're measuring everything up against an instant gratification, that's not resilience, because you're constantly going to be frustrated, feeling out, down, things aren't going your way. And so the endurance plays a very real role in being able to put your life in perspective
Mhm.
on the longer timeline, eternity, and use that as a,
Mhm.
a crutch to launch you into the being able to be resilient. I would think that's
Yeah.
sort of what I take away from what you're
So
saying.
Sarah, give me one sentence. So you're a consultant. You do this all the time. So I know you have a one sentence definition of resilience, and we could call it thriving. We could call it lots of things. But what is your one? If you tell somebody this is my elevator speech, I have 20 seconds with you. This is what it is. What would you say?
Well, I mean, I have I have different mantras that I use for myself, which when I think about, because I don't coach on resilience specifically, but it's obviously kind of front and center for me these days because of my own personal journey.
Yeah,
Um,
it's changed for you,
yeah,
clearly. Yeah.
yeah. Well, a lot has changed. I mean, and because of this, everything has changed,
Yeah.
right? I mean, even quite honestly, how I approach work, which is kind of, I mean, it's tied in, and it's altogether different. But for me, resilience is about how I choose to survive and thrive. And so those are the words that I constantly play in my head. What is it that I need to do to survive? What do I need to understand about the science? What do I need to be doing, for my body, both physically and mentally? And then what am I going to do to continue to thrive in the world, and not let cancer, kind of pull me under
Yeah.
the waterline, at least for no long
So
period.
so it's sort of no matter what happens, I can survive and I can thrive.
Yeah,
And then I'm going to find the way to do that.
yeah. I mean,
Word chooses.
I'm kind of a, yeah. I mean, there's no give up in me. Um, so that's just kind of the way that I see it.
Well,
And
and
I
I
do
think
think that
it's a Christian perspective to me. When Aaron talks about putting things in historical perspective, let's put them in a faith perspective compared to eternity. Ultimately, it's all going to be okay. So it's a matter of my trying to align myself with what is eternal, where I'm going to be okay, and make myself that person now. So to confront everything, even if it takes my life, I'll be okay.
Mhm.
That's just enormous, I think, for Christians. I'll tell you, I'm dealing with somebody right now who's losing their spouse, and all of our conversations, we've had a million conversations. He's a very close friend. All of our conversations right now are about this. At the end of your life, nothing else has meaning except that I aligned myself with my eternal destiny and somehow managed to figure out that I could be okay in the moment because I'm going to be okay forever. That's not small. It's
No,
just not small. It's huge.
yeah. And I think I have a good friend whose sister is very sick, and a part of where she's at in her illness is, her family, um, questioning whether they're pushing her too hard, to do treatments that are really
Yeah.
causing a lot of damage,
Right.
causing a lot of pain. Let's say pain, and you know, it's it, it's impossible to tell somebody who's not going through, a particular, battle, like, I can't help. I mean, I can help her, but everybody has to come at that, at their own time, and
That's right. You've got
their
to
own,
find that for yourself.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
do. You can model other people and you can hear some truth that'll help you, but at the end of the day, I will tell you everybody just sort of gets there on their own. But the wonderful and terrible thing is life will give you enough pain to get there. it will. So let's close with the with Aaron. I want to make sure we show this one. People
now
have
that I
been weighing
had
in.
everyone cheat on the
So
poll.
so look, a lot of people agreed with you about Job. I don't know about Job. I told you earlier, Job doesn't have much choice, and
No, I don't. I am saying
Job
I don't
is,
actually think Job is the
the
right.
Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. It's sort of where we arrive at. So 20% said
I would have said
Moses,
Joseph.
and 40% said Joseph, and I said Moses.
Mm-hmm.
I think Moses is resilient. Like, he just gets hit at every turn with some different thing, and then he finds a way. Even at the end of his life, he's standing out looking over the promised land he can't enter.
Yeah.
And even in that moment, he finds the meaning of it all.
That's fair.
But I don't know. It's all of them, right? We should have D, all of the above.
Yeah.
Choose resilience, everyone. I think, Sarah, I love that you used that word choice. I think that's I would have said it, now thinking back to Jim's question to you of what things you see. When someone doesn't believe they have a choice in it, that's not
You
resilient.
always have a choice. It's your response. Yeah.
So we might not be able to tell you exactly what resilience looks like, but we can tell you what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like I got no choice. This is all happening to me, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, I can't tell you what it looks like for you,
right?
But I can help you figure it out.
Yeah, and you can, and by seeing what it means to others, it does help. You get a model. Well, Sarah, what a thrill to find out you're connecting with us still down there in Charleston, in the Southland. So that's cool.
Yeah,
it's been fun to have you on. Come see us.
Absolutely.
When this is over, you can.
Yeah, really.
Or maybe not, or maybe now, but probably when it's over, you can visit. Okay, love all of you at Columbia. Thank you for tuning into Soul Cafe. We're out of time. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. Aaron, always, it's wonderful to be with you.
Thank you,
and
Sarah.
God bless all of you. Have a great week. It's going to be kind of an interesting week where we hope our nation is resilient.
Yes.
Right? All right. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.